Okay, recording's going. Okay, our normal line of business. They put out the minutes. And I looked at them, they look fine. Anybody want to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to accept them as email.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Peg.
Welcome.
Okay, this one I assigned to Dave. He gave me an update. Basically, the committee meeting, beginning to ballot through the select board meeting last Wednesday. And you were there, Peg, as well. So maybe, no, we can give us the update then, since you were there. I passed, I guess. It was all approved.
Yeah, I thought it went very smoothly. I think everyone was in favor, and you guys made the right points about the language and that there wouldn't be a money amount on it, and that the wording is similar to the last one. But yeah, we didn't run into any problem at all.
As we get a little further down here, we talked with Ellen about the timeline. I think the important thing is what can we put out as a message for when the ballot question goes out to the voters.
Right, early enough before the mail outs and things go.
Yeah, that's the key. We'll focus in there a little bit. And actually, that brings us, Ellen, to the point. We approved that in the select board meeting the other day, so that needs to go to the Secretary of State.
It has been sent by priority mail today.
Okay, good. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. And that was the key one, to make sure we get it to the Secretary of State.
I told Jeremy I would let him know when I got confirmation that it was delivered.
Okay, excellent. Now, with that being said, Ellen, and as we move forward, can you just take us all through the mechanics of the remote mailings, how that works when people get their things from the state, how you send out the ballots for remote mail, also early voting when that opens up, so we have a good feel for what that is?
So I know when early voting will start. That will be October 19th. So it'll go for 2 weeks because it's a state election. So the 2 weeks before the election and early voting will end. For us, it will end on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
I can wear my mask.
For towns that are open on Fridays, it would end on the 1st, but we're not open on Fridays, so we don't have to be open for that. I'm expecting ballots for that election to be mailed to us. I'm going to say 2 weeks before that. It's a tight timeline because the primary is September 3rd, and then they have only a certain amount of time before they have to get the UACAVA, which are the overseas ballots, ready for us. And when those are ready, that means they're also going to be printed. So that's usually by end of September, early October. We're supposed to have them mailed out to the overseas people. We do it by email now, but still the actual ballots have been printed by then. We don't necessarily receive them the same time as the emailed one, but so I could have ballots as early as the beginning of October.
So that information you would be pushing out to the voters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
so
like the primary ballots, I got very early. I got those the first week of July. Well, July 9th, I got those. That was very early. They're already out. People have already returned some already. It'll be a little tighter window for the state election because the primary determines who's going to be on the next ballot. Now, there's really only one race on any of the 3 ballots that we have, so maybe they'll be able to turn it around quicker because there aren't any contests, but we still have to play it out. Okay. To your question about the state putting out the booklets, we are not allowed to put out anything. No town official can put out anything unless we've adopted a certain MGL, which we have not. So we can't put out anything that says, if you vote yes, this is what happens. If you vote no, this is what happens. Now, a committee could, but no town official can do it.
So is that a campaign committee, or is that, could this committee?
Yeah,
do
but you have to make sure nobody on that committee is a town official. I know,
feel
it's,
emotional, right?
it's not easy.
So then that would have to be a independent political committee trying to do a non-biased yes, no.
Yes,
Because I really want a non-biased message out there.
exactly, yeah. And that's
one-
why, yeah, and it's tricky to get a non-biased, because, you know, depends on who's compiling it. So you should have somebody that's against and somebody for creating this information for you, so that it's got both full sides. You know what I'm saying? Like the pro people shouldn't be preparing the other side, because they may leave some stuff out, not intentionally, but they may not think of stuff that people that are against would think of.
Can our committee do the draft language for the pro and not and against? Because we're a committee supposedly representing the town for the needs of the community, which would be pro, and we're trying to do a balancing.
So the needs
But
of the
that-
community is different than a pro and con. I would check with Karis before you get prepared any language for anything, because you have to be careful that you don't violate the laws here. You know, we haven't accepted this MGL. It's 53 section 18B. We haven't accepted that in town, and I don't think there's ever been a real reason to do that, but we're not allowed to do any type of booklet. No town officials can do that. And the same goes for like using any public town property for anything. Like, you can't have a yes rally at the senior center, because the senior center is town property, right? So you'd have to go to a neutral site. If you're questioning about whether you can prepare the language, I would check with Karis about that. That's not really addressed in my documentation. I mean, you wouldn't be putting it out, but could you prepare it? I don't know.
Okay, and as a non-elected official, that would be anybody.
Doesn't matter if you're elected or not. Town official does not have to be. I mean,
Would anybody on the committee be an official?
yeah, you're representing the town.
They're official.
You've been
So we-
appointed.
I believe any member that has been sworn in.
Exactly. So the volunteers, no,
Qualifies.
not town officials. The
So
volunteers,
it
are
would have to be a volunteer-based people,
Mhm.
like Tom,
not. Right.
but he's on another committee.
He's on a committee. And I
Karen's
believe
on-
you're also on a
So
committee.
Karen would be fine,
Well,
because
Karen's
they're
on-
not.
Historical commission.
Well, that's a good point. Gray area, I'll have to find out. Not sure.
you could check-
Technically, you are a town official. You're also a town employee now, too.
oh, that's right. I
Oh,
know.
did you give us- Hey, congratulations.
See, my first night, the first day there.
Oh, workman's comp.
Yeah, you're all right.
Okay, so if someone could check, can I ask one of the select people to check with legal, since you have a normal, to see what we can do and can't do?
Yes. We can confer about that. Yeah.
Because you got constant contact.
There's a list with town council right now, but we'll get this in the queue.
And that one, obviously, the deadline would be the end of, material needs to be ready by the end of September.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like October 1st is sort of the demarcation for potential ballot access.
Right.
For people who are voting.
So it's got to
2
be,
weeks later.
So this is specifically about things like mailers. What about like letters to the newspaper? Are those, I mean, we've done that before. Like,
Mhm.
that would be not, I mean, I don't know, I guess, well, that could be a question for Karis about what the limits are, like what.
Right, right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I would check. I don't want to tell you you can do it or,
Right.
Now, now, Ellen, the voters' addresses or the household addresses are public information, right?
yep, I
So
can
we-
give you that. You just have to ask
So-
for the voter list.
So we could
Um,
use that for someone could use that who's not a town official if we had to go complete political action group, right? So we'd have to file a new political action group then, or something, or do you have to?
Well, I think that's a different question,
Okay,
but we'll,
if you could sort that out with Lou,
yeah.
and I'd ask you to do it as a priority to find out who could do that. And if we have resources for the mailings, then that's a matter of the Friends could be the contributing organization because they're non-town officials. They're an
Yeah.
independent 503C organization.
And they may have to do it at somebody's home instead of at the senior center. Because it's using public property, right? Let me read you what the thing says, the general law says. It's not the general law, it's the DOR write-up. You guys probably have this article. It's the one that has all the ballot question formats in it. It's that DOR article. Local officials may not publish and provide voter information materials at public expense, including a summary of the impact a yes or no vote will have on local services, unless specifically authorized by statute. And that's the one I told you, the 53, section 18B. And we have to have had accepted that statute.
So, but it says specifically, it said at public expense.
Right.
So I guess my question to Karis will be at private. I mean, so it's that separation of the public versus
Yes.
private. So, because we're all still, even though we're all, or many of us in the room are town officials, we are also still private citizens.
Right.
So
You're
I will
voters.
just make sure that we know clearly, like what the line is. Right,
Yeah.
so so I guess right, so clearly we cannot, as a committee, send out the sort of what a yes vote and a no vote means. And similarly, the select board or the COA cannot do that. But we'll find out more, like, we'll,
Is it the funding or is it the person?
right, exactly.
And if Karis is
Yeah.
busy, you might be able to contact DOR legal. You know,
Okay.
they have the lawyers of the
But
day.
we'll explore a few things, and if maybe we can get it down to some very concrete questions to send to Karis to get like a brief response about. But yeah, actually, Ellen, maybe I'll ask you if you could just forward me that document or a link
sure.
to it, just so that I know that I'm looking at the same thing that you're looking at.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Okay. So that would be the yes, no informational thing.
Yeah.
Okay, as we talked, before we go off of that one, because it is almost August, we talked about doing potentially meetings in September and October. Prior to, this would just be town general information meetings. And that would be, I think, Mike, you suggested would be able to address just the broader scope of some town questions as well, like field and recreation. Not necessarily have everything nailed down, but the fact that it's recognized that it's a need.
Yeah, I
And
mean, we talked about that in the meeting as well. We're gonna walk and chew gum at the same time.
yeah, one of those. I would like
Project
to,
doesn't affect another project necessarily, it can be going on simultaneously.
It's an interesting idea to have a town hall about multiple projects.
I would love to see it.
Because then, I mean, that might bring in more people and get more conversation across the subgroups.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a practical reality too, because they're not gonna be executed at the same time. They'll be started, they'll be in parallel, but the expenditures may be staggered. And that's the
Yes.
point Dave's made a few times.
Right. That's true. And that's a level debt funding. So I'd like to start to look at targeting some timeframes because August is coming up, September will be here before we know it, in October saying, you know, where should we have this event as a town hall event? And we get to start getting the messages out.
Right.
So that means we need to build what content we'd be just overviewing, whatever, in general terms, the objectives of the meeting. And it should be for feedback and input about things that the town is working on. I think we're gonna need 2 of those, and we could get AMBI or what was it?
ABMI,
Thank you. I'm actually on that committee too.
learn the letters.
Just listen, I can
The call letters.
call letters. I don't watch it, but I'm on it. But they did do a good job of video recording other events, and they just publicly broadcast them.
You'd want to do it kind of like as an invitation and probably from maybe the town administrator, because it's going to be talking about a various amount of topics, not just the senior and community center. It's going to reference fields, it's going to, no?
Yes, but the timing is not gonna work. I don't think we're in any way, shape or form ready to speak in the month of August about multiple priorities in any sort of.
No, we
cogent
haven't,
Well, that's
right,
good
we
to know.
haven't, yeah, so I think August 21st is the date that we're targeting to get the sort of multiple
Listing.
boards
together.
and committees, because it's scheduled multiple groups, so because we want to make sure that we have parks, like Parks Commission, as well as,
And this is specific to fields.
yes.
Right.
Well, right,
Possibly broader land use, but
yes,
I think it's the primary competition.
Mhm.
right.
You're right, you're right. That seems to have been the most vocal of the people who didn't vote.
But we should know more about a plan after the August 21st meeting.
I think if nothing else, the recognition of it.
Yes, and I
And
think,
that's, we're at the beginning stages of that.
yes,
We're more into the middle stages of this project before the build. So at least we give them recognition.
And I think this committee should focus on the senior community center communication. So if you want to have a discussion around the plans and we're only 10 weeks out.
Right.
Honestly. Right? So focus on community center, senior center centric communication.
I,
Part of that ancillary discussion, there should be people in the room that
right,
can speak to other
Right.
things, but don't make the primary focus
True.
about the big picture because it's not ready.
I
right,
agree. The big picture's not ready, but have other people to be able
You
to.
start to weave it in because you
Right.
have multiple
Right.
communications on here. The second time, we'll have a little more information probably.
Yep.
See how it's starting to come together, but I would not focus on the big picture in the next 8-10 weeks because it's not ready to be discussed.
Yeah, you won't.
That
outside of
discussion would come up in
50,000 feet.
September. That discussion would come up in September, you're thinking?
Well, I think you'll see some progress and maybe
yeah,
some
we'll
traction.
see, we'll see what, the various stakeholders.
So
how
are we
they wanna
talking,
proceed.
are we talking about having more meetings at the senior center like we did before, open house type things? Is that what you're?
I'm thinking town hall. I would like the presence of the town hall.
Mhm.
I would invite some representation from select board, parks maybe, other groups to be there in case other questions come up. We were getting hit with questions about all sorts of things, affordable housing, affordable this. And we can't drive that town solution from our committee. I'd like to see other groups at least recognize that request if you haven't heard it already. To say, yes, we're aware of that. We started a process. We're working with this group and this group. And we're gonna roll out a plan over the next year, 2 years. It's in progress. We haven't ignored you.
Where are we with the architect and his sketchings?
Sketchings, hopefully he's gonna present to us next week. We're gonna do
Or next week or next meeting?
next week. I'm trying to hold the feet to his fire,
Oh,
fire to his feet.
okay,
So next meeting is gonna be Tuesday of next week.
Ah.
Architect's presentation of the things that we asked him to do,
Is he gonna be on the screen? Is that where it's going?
screen probably.
So, sorry, next Tuesday as in the 30th?
Yes,
Okay,
at 6:30.
6:30. All right, so there's going to be an information session at Town Hall about the power aggregation.
Ooh.
So I need to go to that Saturday.
Okay.
That's okay.
We'll have-
Everybody got their mailing in anyway, and you've got to respond, gotta opt out, so people will have questions. Yeah, bring your sleeping bag.
But I want to keep that process going.
Ellen has a hand up.
Oh,
Yes, Alan?
So before I assume you're pretty much done with me, but there was one more timeline I wanted to mention.
Please.
If the ballot question passes in November, I'm assuming you will go for special town meeting for the money.
Yes.
But should that timeline not work out, I do have a question into DOR because the law is very vague about how much time you have after a ballot vote to vote the money. And all the law says is a reasonable time. So I've asked DOR to clarify that, and they have not yet, but I'm still waiting. But that's something, I assume it's gonna be at special town meeting, and we're not even gonna have to worry about that. But if something comes up that you're not ready with that number, and you want,
Oh,
maybe do it
I
in
would like to
December.
I'd like to have that number available for when we start talking to the people.
So, but I think it'd be good to know what the duration is, Ellen, just
Mhm.
because if
Yeah.
STM fails, there's a window we could probably bring it back to another
Exactly.
special town meeting.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
understanding those durations will be important.
Right,
Okay.
and that's, I just want to know what that time frame is, and the law was very vague, I couldn't figure it out at all. And it must be stumping them too, because they have not replied to me.
And I think it depends on the wording of the warrant too. So we went through this with Karis on whether it's quote contingent, literally says the word contingent. So there's 3 scenarios.
Yeah,
terms
but
of
you wouldn't be
operations.
contingent if you've already passed. If you've already passed the ballot, you won't be contingent on that, right?
Right, okay.
Well,
If it's the
Yeah,
opposite,
but-
if
You
the
gotta find
opposite
it.
would be true.
Well, there's literally the definition of contingent. One is contingent on the other, but then in the wording of the warrant article, there's wording that you use the term contingent, the timing and, follow-up processes are different. And we worded it as a contingent. I mean, we understand it is contingent, to your point, Ellen, but we
Yeah.
worded it in a way that added some specificity, I think, to how we could take action going forward. So we
Yeah.
eliminated that this time, I think.
Yeah, I think
That's the plan.
that was the plan.
Yeah, and had you decided to do a special election instead of doing the November ballot, you would have had to have held that no later than, I think, September 15th for the ATM vote to have been valid, but that's
Right.
not gonna happen here, so. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, Alan, thank you very much.
Alan, one last question.
Sure.
Ballpark, what's the cost of a special election and what's this cost of a STM? Just round figures.
Special town meeting, that's only a few $100s. I don't know what the select board costs are to print a warrant and all that. So there's that cost, but I don't know what that number is. But for me, I just hire a couple of poll workers and it's just a few $100s.
Okay.
For a special election, like the one in November is not going to cost us anything.
Right.
But if we had a special election, I think I originally told Phil 5,000, but it's more like 6,000. Especially if I have to rent other equipment. If you did it during like the September primary, it would have had been a dual election.
Right.
Double the poll workers, double the check-ins. That's a little bit more expensive. So between 5,000 and 6,000 is what an election typically would cost.
I just think we might get questions on why are we reversing the ballot and the warrant. And to me, this is the most cost-effective solution for the town to do it in this way.
Absolutely. And this is a horrible time to put in a second election when we've
Right.
got this big, busy election year.
Yeah.
So this makes the most sense. financially, you know, it's just the right thing. And it gives you time to get your numbers.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks for joining, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So there's some critical questions around the legal, how we get the messaging out to the voters before, so leave that in your good hands. Elaine, is it you, or is it?
Yeah, well, Mike and I will confer. But yes, between us.
Just to give you a general update with Petrovic on the redesign, I've had 2 brief conversations with him. He'll be coming back to, I gave him some goals. We talked about goals around 10.5 million to make. Then we talked about goals. What if we had things that were not under prevailing wage? What could you allocate on? Things like finishing the food pantry downstairs and being a further later project, finishing the garage at a later date. He suggested that things like finishing the landscaping to the degree of landscaping he had involved. You could do general landscaping, but not trees and shrubs and bushes. And if you put that on prevailing wages, it's more expensive. So what he's going to try to do is come up with a proposal, the scope of the project, then take a list of things that he feels we could carve out. Then it'll be our job to prioritize those. If the contingency money is not all spent, the 10 to 12%, we could allocate it to that list. That list also could be used for fundraisers through the Friends to offset the costs of things.
So this is where Dave said, we want a $10.5 million design with a $9.5 million spend type of spend.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
As an example, yeah. We don't know what the numbers are yet. I don't want to publish numbers because we don't know what they are.
If anybody's listening.
Yeah. The principle is what we're trying to do. Here's a number, we're trying to make it smaller yet. And be creative on how we do things. But you can all listen on the rerun. So that's where he's at. He's coming back with some alternatives to that. I said you also have to have in there the design expansion, because this building will have less than what it had before. So you need to show where the expansion capability. He also, and then we want to go through the use case again with everybody, with Peg and Amy and some other folks. But nail down what we're going to use each one of these places. And that'll be a comparison of this center, current one. And also he's going to come up with a reuse plan, capital value for the existing center. So that we'd have a value of that building for reuse, for example, highway and Parks and Rec, for example. So he felt we'd probably have to have a meeting with probably highway and at least Dan to, and he's working with him on some other projects, I guess.
Records room.
Records, yeah. So.
Also, Phil, I know Mike asked us last month about solar, yeah.
The solar piece, when I talked to Mike, he suggested that we contact one of these maybe this company just did the passive solar to figure out what they, how that works through an electric company. It's not his wheelhouse to figure out how to do that.
Oh, the aggregation, that would be, yeah, that would be a different question. But did you watch that webinar?
Okay,
Phil, okay.
Okay. Did you find money there?
It is not immediate money. It's but there are resources for figuring out how to do it. But yeah.
I've always thought that if we could figure out how to get grants and funding, the buildings would be prepared to take on energy from any source.
Right.
So if we figure out a way to do that,
Well,
and get it paid for outside of this project.
Right. Might need a separate funding request. I mean, to clearly not, I don't know. I mean, if there isn't enough in the project to cover it. Because it seems like for these projects, so that there are now federal incentives and you can get back up to 30%, but you have to pay up front and then you get the money back after the project is finished, and so it's not an upfront financial incentive.
It'll be a payback later.
Yes, which still, it does reduce the cost overall, but you still have to ask, sort of like for this project, you have to ask for the whole thing. To get the whole, you have to be able to cover the whole thing, and then.
I would be concerned of adding the electric infrastructure, that infrastructure onto this building, because we've been pushing it back up to 13 million or
Right.
more.
But I believe the architect said it was going to be solar ready, so like if we can hold him to that we could potentially work towards that project, like as a separate
As
project.
a separate project. I just don't want to pile on.
Is this all based on what I said, this conversation?
Yes, and then I took.
I
down those
retract.
notes.
I retract my statement.
Hey, too late for that. Too late, these were all approved.
It's approved.
Tough push.
But anyway, I'm full. Energy efficiency is super. We need to be a clean community.
Right.
But we can't burden a project to figure out how to get all these things done.
Mhm.
I mean, we will be ready to take it.
Right.
What would we be looking at for a cost for
Well,
that?
that's a question, and that's maybe. I will ask, I have some sources who could maybe at least be ballpark of what it would be for that size project, for that size. I don't know.
If we have opportunity through green communities to do something like this, given that we should have a
Yes.
higher
Yes.
grant
Right, and
level.
once we have our conservation agent doing more like grant seeking work, this could be a project for her.
Yes. It'd be good to see her
Right.
expand up.
Is there a potential that if somebody paid for it up front with the hopes that they would get their money back? Is that a possibility?
I don't know. I don't know, because, there are a lot of regulations built in, and also it's one of these things where like you have to pay, well, if you don't pay the prevailing wages, you're not eligible for as much of a refund.
I
So
don't want to go.
it would be, it was very complicated. I watched this webinar today, and there were interesting insights about getting projects through in another town. But like, it does seem like, funding is always complicated, so.
Okay.
It just, right, so I think if there are people who are willing to sort of pursue this, like if Carolyn Barthel is, for example, interested in pursuing these questions,
I think
sort of in parallel, that we could at least have these answers ready, even if we're not expecting to be able to build it into this phase of the project, this phase of the funding.
I'll follow up with Carolyn. She's expressed an interest. I want to take her to the next level, really go
Yes.
find it,
Yeah.
figure it out.
A question on the adaptive reuse work that Mike's gonna do. Would it make sense to coordinate that through Jeremy? Because I think it's more of a public works, it's not just highway or parks. But I think if Jeremy shepherded, 'cause I don't think Mike's looking for detail like he did for the senior. I think he's trying to get a broad stroke saying, when you say that, what do you mean, right? 'Cause I know that John and Dan have done designs on the back of the napkin, that building, designs on.
They bought the 2x4s yet?
Or be-
Shall, I think, and Jeremy might provide a little more context and direction to say,
We'd be glad. Mike wanted to get a meeting together with myself and Dan, because we figured he'd be a good starting point. I've got a meeting with Jeremy Monday.
well, we've got a Jeremy will get the capital planning.
Oh, good. We can,
Tomorrow.
yeah, we can look, that is a capital plan. It'd be
And
nice for him.
there is a
to-
request there's funding for adaptive reuse
Yeah, and I think
that was allocated.
I'm trying to get some adaptive reuse swag, good swag from Mike with the $10,000 we already
Right.
approved.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell him we have money to spend, but so go ahead.
Well, when you read it,
That's true.
It's
Right,
like-
we have money. No, but that'd be more for formal design.
formal
engineering,
design, yes, engineering.
Rewind.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, Mike understands. That's the other piece. But get Jeremy involved, fine. We'll talk to him tomorrow.
And if he's got too much on his plate, I mean, he can certainly go ahead, but I just want to make sure it's at the right level. It's easy, it's quick,
Yes,
and the focus is what we want it to be.
yes, because I would get somebody engaged, but I don't want to.
There's like facilities management potential. Is that in or out? I don't know.
But anyway. Feedback, any other communications? I've got no volunteers signing up for anything. My wife Karen's gonna help wherever we need some help maybe, but we're not sure yet. Her background's really big in building up facilities, so she could eventually, if we ever get through this thing, I could see her doing how to build this thing up. And she can also,
The communications committee, we've lost it. It's
yeah,
Karen and I haven't heard from Tom. I don't know whether you have.
he was busy and all.
He is. He's involved in other committees as well. That's the problem. We all are.
But we also don't have anything to put out there yet.
Yeah, we have, exactly, because Karen, I want to separate the two.
Yeah.
Karen one, Karen two. She does the Facebook page. So when she puts something out, that's when we get a lot of feedback.
Yep.
Now he was hacked.
Oh, yeah, Patrick was hacked.
Yeah, because I got something about, I got something
I
about,
did too.
about the payroll, how we.
Yes.
So an invoice come through or something like that?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
Yeah, he was hacked.
He sent an apology
Okay.
note out. He got hacked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's important to know.
I figured when it went to everybody and maybe not just you, that something was.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm like, why are they sending it to me? Also, I heard through the grapevine that the Hopedale Street property was sold from Smith to Amian. It was my
I don't know-
dream.
Right, I don't know that I don't know where it is. I mean, I also heard that was happening. I don't know what, but I was also told that the conservation restriction goes with the property. That,
Right.
so that like it's for agricultural use. That's,
I only know because Annie Ponus, who runs the community garden, that's going to shut down her community garden.
but that's agricultural use.
But it's part of, she's worked hard on that land
Right, right.
for like the last year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Oh, the town's parcel.
I'm just telling you what I heard.
I don't know. Okay, now I think there's other building plans for the corner there too. For the north end. I understand.
Oh, I,
Oh, the bank that's going in, have they started yet?
They're in a process of going through something. I don't know.
It's the planning board, I think,
Yeah,
right?
planning.
yeah, I haven't been following the planning. things regularly.
Gonna be bigger than a bank,
Oh, is it?
just from the amount of parking spaces he's asking for.
Okay,
It's gotta be bigger than a bank.
It is, it's gonna be some retail space, he said too, so I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is if we get forward, I'd like to make sure when we're doing design, we have our people design together, maybe so they're not. I mean, we did share a design with whoever was working on that, what we were doing. Hopefully making it compatible and making it look like, it'd be nice to get it to work closer, if ours goes through. But, okay. The only other input I got some input from the folks from, and one person said, we don't need one.
I'm just thinking, Phil, there's our con.
Oh, Karen will have plenty of cons
We got some comments, actually.
from her.
Karen, that's a good point. We could take a look at some of that stuff that came through. Pete. Good nickname. But some of the things, basically was, we don't need one, why do you need one? And if you want to meet somewhere else in the community, go find a room, some other building. And I politely said, well, after I had a few years' experience, I walked in, I instantly noticed that there was not enough space. But I appreciate your input. Come to any meeting you'd like to and discuss it. I think I copied you in on
Yeah,
it.
you did. Thank you.
So, but we get those kind of mails. I'm looking for volunteers. Okay,
Another thing, I this will probably fall on you, but I really think that we need to find out from the original committee how many people want to continue, because I noticed that there's been absenteeism for quite a while now and for a few people.
Yeah.
So just so we know, what we're actually,
It's really Lonnie and Tom. I think, right?
Yeah, Lonnie and Tony.
I'm not sure about Diane. She might be off the committee.
I've always treated.
John Vandersloot kind of comes, not comes.
It's the volunteer base, yeah, I can follow. I'll follow up with those folks. And I put Carol on here as a volunteer because she expressed interest.
Yes, that's fine.
And I don't think I need to keep Jack on in a little bit. We're not planning on anything.
Oh, you mean Jack Hunter? Is that who you mean?
Yeah. I've added Jeremy.
Now, when I tried to CC him on the notes and he didn't come up on the Mendon website as having an address, so you might, what was the start date? Was it just recent?
Sorry, who?
Jeremy?
Oh, Jeremy.
He didn't come
the
up?
8th. Oh, okay.
All right,
Yeah, I mean, he does have one.
he does now.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I was
we
able,
should find it.
I was
It's
able
just,
to.
yeah, J, it's, first initial, last name.
Yeah, I did try it. I did try to include him.
Okay, so the big action items is legal. Petrovic,
Yes,
next week meeting, because I want to keep the design going. And a new volunteer for communication.
yes, wonderful.
And then
Is Mike gonna stick to those numbers in terms of the ceiling on 10.5?
he's trying.
I'm just wondering if we should talk to Jeremy about running.
I think. that
Oh,
was
yes,
good,
agreed.
yes. Yeah.
I think we should do that. Scale them at the 9.5, 10.5. 8.5. Yeah, run the numbers. It's a calculator, it's Excel spreadsheet.
I'm curious to see what our building is worth. Because that'll be a savings for the town.
Yeah, we didn't have any kind of financial value other than the fact that it'll be
I mean,
reused.
you have an assessed value, right?
We do have one?
Not a lot, but.
No.
Sorry.
Mike, any thoughts?
So, I plan on staying on the committee.
Thank you.
I think my strong and my value to this committee will be if and when we get this passed, when we get into the construction.
Mhm,
Top
right.
degree.
Right,
My forte.
it is.
But you've had a lot of valuable insights
Yes, already.
so far, like even talking about.
That's because I'm a senior.
Well, no, but you know a lot about buildings, so.
And you know, a practical view of it.
I tend to look at things, I call it the caveman approach.
You're gonna get along.
You go back, no matter what, you go back to basics.
Yeah.
Back to basics and you'll survive.
Any other new items? Oh, one last question. Did we hear anything about, you mentioned somewhere in July, August, something about the federal grant that we put in or the federal earmark thing?
So I was in touch with Congressman. Shoot, Auchincloss. I lost it. What, Auchincloss? Yeah, it's like I had it and then I lost it. I was in touch with the congressman's aides, and so it's still in various committees. So we still won't know, but it's not dead, so that's good.
Yep.
So
Very good.
yeah, so hopefully we'll know something at the end of the summer.
And I'm assuming we still have $100,000 from the state reps.
Don't know this. I mean, I think that was another thing that was in committee at the state level, so we'll have to ask about that.
I think just one, I think the House had passed it, but they hadn't gone through the Senate.
Okay.
With that, I have nothing else unless somebody else has.
So just to confirm, so next meeting is not 8/6. Is there also going to be, so the next meeting you said is going to be 7?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Will there also be one 8/6, just so I can? Or is the thought?
Well, I'm concerned about getting the numbers right. Maybe we can have a smaller subcommittee group, maybe.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we put the use cases behind it, which might be the following week. Maybe not everybody has to go. Make sure we do the layout that Mike puts together. We say, okay, this is the functions that happen in this room, comparable to what happens today. That's the other piece I think we all said we needed more of.
We need to see what that building looks like too.
And Mike has all the stuff, the old building too, so we're gonna really dissect that piece a little more. Here's the old, here's what we wanted, here's what we're doing now. And what are the differences in all these three? So we may not have one, I guess it's unclear.
Okay.
But next week, I think we need one to keep the momentum going on the costing. Okay.
We'll make a motion during the meeting.
I second. Moved. All in favor?
I.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, you know what, right next to your name, Karen, right to you. That would be great. I'll include you in the notes.
So do you have separate meetings for communication?
We had, yes, we
did?
had, but with just Karen and I, we haven't.
Okay.
So we'll have to, but yeah, and we usually do meet at the senior center.